What's up, guys? Steve here with Soul Lifts, and today I want to talk to you about something that's really important to me. Actually, it's the reason why I initially made this YouTube channel, and that's to talk about lower back pain. Now, you may have seen my other videos where I'm lifting twice my body weight in squats and deadlifts. And this is something that if you watch any of these other, YouTube fitness channels, for example, if you watch the Hodge twins, you know that the Hodge twins don't do deadlifts or squats at all. And the reason for doing that, or the reason, sorry, for not doing the squats and deadlifts is they say it's their lower back pain. And 3 years ago, I was literally bedridden with back pain. So for me, it's beyond my expectations that I'm able to do these fitness videos now. Because 3 years ago, I was lying on my back, essentially immobile, with disc pain in my lower back, and I thought, this is going to affect me for the rest of my life. It's never going to get better or ease up. But I wanted to make this video to explain my history with lower back pain, what exactly was going on with me, the advice that I got, and how I eventually went forward and fixed it. And I know that people who are out there suffering with back pain get a lot of really bad information. You get a lot of people trying to give you information who are medical professionals who have never suffered through lower back pain, never had a disc problem, and really don't have any understanding of your pain, your unique situation. And I would like to think that I have an understanding of what you might be going through. This video might be a little bit long, but if you're somebody who suffers with disc problems in your lower back, please watch this video through. Because what I did in my story, I'm hoping by sharing my story, I might actually help somebody save time and money and energy and days and weeks and years in pain by giving them an alternative path to what you might be told is the best way to solve your back pain. I was told at one point 3 years ago that I had the lower spine of a 65-year-old man. And I had 2 herniated discs and 1 desiccated disc. And it was quite a difficult process just to even get to that diagnosis. But once I finally got an MRI and saw how messed up my lower back was, I really thought that was pretty much it for me. That I was going to have difficulty, picking up my kids or keeping fit and active. And that was absolutely not the truth, and it doesn't need to be the truth for you either. You can't explain lower back pain to somebody who hasn't been through it. I figure it's trying to explain the pain of childbirth to a man. It just can't be done, right? If you are somebody who suffers through disc problems in your lower back and painful bouts of disc slippage and inflammation in your lower back to the point where you're essentially bedridden and unable to move around with any kind of efficiency, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you should definitely watch this video. If you know somebody who has lower back pain, please forward this video to them. It might be the one thing that they need to hear, because I know that 3 years ago a video like this is exactly what I needed to hear, and I didn't get it, so I'm going to make it today. I'm going to tell you what advice that I was given, including advice that was given by medical and, again, professionals, how I eventually took control, and how I eventually changed my life, and for the better, obviously. I could have been headed, I think, in a very, very bad direction if I had given up, or if I had, succumbed to this lifestyle of constantly going to doctors for short-term pain treatment. I could have been in a really bad place right now. Unfortunately, I went in a different direction, a direction that I'm hoping that you'll go in, and that's not the case for me today. Now, it's important to note that there is no cure, per se, but you can be very, very successful at managing lower back pain to the point where you can be impressive with your strength. Now, again, I haven't been a serious power lifter for very long, but the fact that I'm able to do these lifts for double my own body weight is, to me, an impressive thing. I'm really happy with my own performance, because I really didn't think that videos like the ones that I put up and lifts like the ones that I do were anywhere within the scope of possible. And so I'm not sure if you're thinking that it's possible that you're going to be, you know, rock climbing or going on runs or anything like this with your lower back pain, but I'm here to tell you that it's absolutely possible, and you can do it without surgery, and you can do it without any heavy medications. Now the back pain, I'll start with that. I had some episodes of discomfort in my 20s. I progressed to some more serious bouts in my, my late 20s, early 30s. In my early 30s, I was going to the gym regularly, but I wasn't lifting smart. I wanted aesthetic muscles. I was doing bodybuilding exercises. I was following the advice that I would get from these ridiculous fitness magazines that are really just there to sell products. Please, don't do what I did. Right? Don't be, worried about looking like Jay Cutler or anybody else in the Muscle and Fitness magazine. What you want is functional strength. I was in the gym, but I threw my back out by lifting stupidly, and it got to the point where I was totally immobilized. I couldn't even get to the washroom. I had a string of chairs lined up so that I could support myself from the back of one chair to the back of the next chair just to get to the washroom. It was awful. And if you've been through an episode like this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a terrible feeling. It's a feeling of helplessness and hopelessness. And, especially as a relatively young and otherwise healthy guy, I didn't want that to be my future. I sought some medical help, which was harder than I expected for a couple of different reasons. First of all, I don't live in an English-speaking country. I live in South Korea, and so communication with doctors was very, very difficult. Fortunately, my wife helped me out a lot, but even when I did return home and talk to doctors there, it was still difficult to get somebody who was genuinely interested in seeing me cure or at least overcome the debilitating effects of this lower back condition that I had. And I don't think that a lot of doctors out there are necessarily interested in doing what's best for you. I think they're more interested in perhaps making some money. Now, that's not true for all doctors, and I think, as I'll explain later in the video, it's very difficult to treat somebody with disc problems in their lower back. But this is the situation that I found myself in. The doctors. The common themes from these doctors, the things that I heard from most of the places that I visited. Number one, don't exercise. Pretty much everybody I visited said, don't move, lie down on the bed, keep yourself still. This is where the spasms and the inflammation is going to go away. You just need to lie with your legs elevated, and you need to avoid any kind of strenuous physical exercise. Wrong. I heard you need to heat the area. You need to use heating pads, right? Heating pads are going to reduce the muscle spasms, and they're going to give you some short-term pain relief. Wrong. I heard you need to take muscle relaxants, right? You need to take muscle relaxants because your problem is muscular in nature. Wrong. I heard that you need to do acupuncture. Right? Obviously, I live in Korea. Acupuncture is still, and herbal medicine, Eastern medicine is still very popular here. Absolutely wrong. I heard that I need to take multiple x-rays. And if you do have a lower back condition, please, go take an x-ray just in case. But you don't need to take an x-ray with every doctor that you visit, because if the first x-ray doesn't show any obvious skeletal problems, it's probably not a skeletal problem. Anyway, the wife suggested acupuncture, so we went and saw an acupuncture clinic. And, if you're not familiar with acupuncture, I think everybody basically is. They stick needles into your skin. They go in a couple of millimeters below the surface. They're supposed to improve circulation and stimulate the muscles in the area. They threw a couple of needles in the lower back area. Then they put on some heating pads. Had me lie there with a heating pad for a while. Then they would use this electromuscular stimulation where they'd attach a couple of electrodes, pass a current through my lower back, and have the muscles twitching there. All in all, it was an absolute waste of time. This could have been, the only benefit really was the electromuscular stimulation there, and that could have been accomplished at home. So I know I'm going to get some comments in there on these people who, from people who believe in acupuncture and think it's the end all and be all. After we visited a few acupuncture clinics, I wanted to go to a real hospital. So we did. We went to a real hospital, a proper hospital, and after waiting an enormous amount of time to actually meet with the doctor, I was told within 60 seconds that it was a muscular problem. I was prescribed muscle relaxants and told to use some mentholatum or some little black back sticker mentholatum based patches. No x-ray, no MRI, no real concern as to the root cause of the problem. So I went to see a chiropractor. No pain relief with a chiropractor, and the worst part about chiropractics, just in my opinion, I know, again, I'm going to get a lot of people who believe very strongly in the power of chiropractics. The worst part about the chiropractics, in my opinion and experience, was that I was required to go back once, twice a week, essentially with no time limit, to get further treatments to get pain relief. And there wasn't really any pain relief, so to speak of. Getting adjustments in the back doesn't actually fix any of your problems long term, right? As soon as your back goes out again, you're going to have to go back and visit the chiropractor again. Well, who wants to do that? Now, locally, I went to a place called jasaeng Clinic. Now, jasaeng here in Korea is a back specialist clinic. That's what they do. They have doctors who do nothing but specialize in back pain. If you live in Korea, please take my very strong advice and never, ever waste your money at a jasaeng clinic. I don't know what the equivalent is in North America, but I'm sure there is one. Or around the world, there are probably the equivalents of jasaeng clinic. But this was an absolute joke of a medical treatment facility. I went to 2 different branches, spoke to different doctors. Of course, the very first thing they said to me was, do not exercise, do not move, right? Keep yourself immobile as much as possible and throw heating pads on your back. Anyway, I was given bee pollen acupuncture this time, or not bee pollen rather, this is bee venom acupuncture. So they essentially, take the bee venom, they dip the end of the needle in it, and they jab that into your skin, and it numbs the area. Now, this kind of treatment is dangerous, in my opinion. Dulling the pain on the surface level might lead you to a false sense of confidence in your spine and lead you to the risk of further injury. If you go out, your back isn't actually ready to bear the weight of something, but because you're numb from whatever the treatment is, like this bee venom treatment, you may actually hurt yourself worse. Adjustments at jasaeng involved basic rotation and flexing, where they would, I had one guy, take my head and twist it from side to side, or push my hips from side to side. This kind of thing was considered to be a treatment at jasaeng, and it's not. It's not an adjustment. It's not a treatment at all. It might be part of a diagnosis, but if anybody is trying to sell you this as medical treatment, walk away. Don't waste your money or time. I was told at jasaeng, and this was the big problem I had with this particular place, that I would need to take a special in-house manufactured herbal-based medicine, which costs somewhere between $10 and $15 a day. Here in Korea, it'd be 10,000 to 15,000 won per day to take these ridiculous herbal-based medicines, which I'm assuming were some kind of anti-inflammatory and muscle relaxant. And I'll get to the medicines that I actually do take later, but suffice it to say, you don't need to take anything that costs $10 to $15 a day. That's ridiculous. Anybody who tells you that that's going to fix your back problem is lying to you. I eventually did, and this is the one good thing about jasaeng, is they had an MRI machine on the premises at one of the clinics that I went to, so I actually finally got a proper MRI, which, it showed me exactly what was going on, the 2 herniated and 1 desiccated disc, which is something that the hospitals and doctors that I had visited before, the different clinics and finally the proper hospital, had been unwilling to recommend for me. They were unwilling to give me an MRI because they were unwilling to consider the possibility that it was a disc problem. All of this was essentially useless. And I'll tell you why I think so. People who don't have lower back pain can't understand what it's like. Like I mentioned before, your lower back is the center of all your movement. It bears all of your weight. Any time that you sit or stand or run or walk or turn or lift, any of that is going to go directly through your lower back. And you know, if you've not had any problems with your lower back, especially discs in the lower back, you have no idea. You know, you're messing with nerves there that are central to the entire midsection all the way down to your toes. So it is a really, really difficult thing to deal with. And I don't think that a lot of the caregivers who are supposed to be treating you for your lower back problem understand this. With a lot of chronic pain clinics and caregivers, the business is set to get you coming back on a regular basis for pain management. Pain management on an ongoing basis whereby you come in and receive temporary fixes. But not a permanent fix, not a long-term fix. Curing your pain or offering you encouragement to go out and find a long-term solution is bad for business because they can't sell you what you need to do, right? Most of all, and this is really important, what really needs to be done, it needs to be done by you, and it requires very little medicine and very little medical care. It requires a lot of willpower, but that's not something that can be purchased. So anytime you're going to somebody and you're paying them to give you treatment for your lower back, bear this in mind. So this is the most important part. What did I do? How I did it. How I did it was research, willpower, exercise, ice, and some very minor medication. And I'm going to explain to you each of the steps that I took, and why it worked for me. First of all, I stopped going to doctors. I was going to these doctors, I was going to these clinics, and they weren't giving me anything that was actually helping or anything that was actually useful. So I went online and did my own research. And what I did was I talked to people who had actually suffered through the same thing. So support groups, essentially, for people suffering from lower back pain. And success stories on things that had actually worked for them. And I was really, really surprised. I was surprised to find out that what they were recommending, what they were saying that worked for them, was completely opposite to what the doctors were telling me to do. So I looked a little further, and I started to implement a lot of what I'd found. But before you go ahead and you start implementing these things, you know, you have to want to cure you. The willpower is a really important thing. If you're overweight, you need to lose weight. You know, if you're a guy and you're carrying a really big gut on you, you absolutely need to drop your weight, which means dieting. You need to really strongly adjust what you eat. That takes a lot of willpower. It's very, very difficult to do. If you're a smoker, if you're a heavy drinker, you need to really rethink your lifestyle choices. If you're a heavy smoker, stop smoking. If you're a heavy drinker, find a way to cut down on your drinking. These are things that are not going to help you at all. Right? Until you reach the point where you're sick of your state, you're sick of being sick, until you stop making excuses, it's not going to change. So willpower, the desire to change your lifestyle in a way that you know, reduces the impact of your lower back injury, that's number one most important thing. And the next thing was exercise. And of course, as I've explained to you, the doctors told me, stay immobile, stay with your legs up in the air, put a heating pad on it, don't exercise, don't move, don't do anything. And this was absolutely wrong. Nothing could have possibly been further from the truth for me as to what fixed lower back pain. And like I said, I had a pretty severe problem for a man of my age with my lower back, with my discs there. Your back will go out more often and more seriously the weaker your muscular support system is. If you don't have the proper muscular support system for your spine, your back will go out very often, and it will go out with increasing degrees of severity to the point where, like me, you'll be lying in bed unable to go to the bathroom without pain. And that's an awful feeling. You need to do smart exercise. And again, you don't need to follow muscle and fitness magazines. That's ridiculous stuff. What you need is smart exercise. Exercise that's designed to develop your myofibrillar muscle to act as a girdle and a support system to your spine. That's the best thing that you need to do for yourself. You need to move, you need to exercise. And it's hard to know where to start because obviously, as you're just starting out, you're not going to be able to do deadlifts and squats and heavy exercises right away. And I wasn't able to either. So what I started with was I started with a Bosa ball. I started with a Swiss ball, one of these big guys. And basically what I did was I sat down on it and I bounced. I kept my back nice and straight and I just bounced up and down. And what I had read and what I envisioned myself doing as I was doing this was envision your spine as a pump, like a bike pump. And by bouncing up and down on this ball, what you're basically doing is you're pumping oxygen and blood into your lower back area, filling those discs with the oxygen and blood that they need. That's what you need to really envision yourself doing. Bounce up and down on the Swiss ball. Bounce up and down. I used to do it for about 15 minutes. Then I would do a little bit of stretching. I would sit down and get the legs in a V position, stretch out to one toe, stretch out to the other toe, stand up, bend down, try and touch the toes. This is something you want to do very, very gently. You don't want to be bouncing in the middle of the stretch. You want to do a nice, gentle, static stretch. Then go back to the ball and bounce up and down on it. Ice, which I'll talk about in a little bit, is another thing you want to combine with the ball, but this is a good place to start. Pump that area with the bouncing ball, or bouncing on the Swiss ball, rather. As you gain more mobility, move to do some other exercises. Jogging, light jogging, even starting out walking. Find a 1 to 2 kilometer circuit and start out walking. Then try and jog a little bit on it. If you have to mix together jog and walking, if it takes you 25 minutes to go 2 kilometers, fine, so be it. Right? But just get out there and get your body bouncing up and down. You want to really work the very core, right? You want to get your body moving. You want to try and start building up the muscles around the spine. And if that means that you need to start with something really basic like going for a walk, do it. And try and push your body to where you can safely push it to, before you're in a lot of pain. And if you're able to stand that pain with the help of ice and some anti-inflammatories, do it. Push your body. Don't push your body to the point where you're laid out in bed screaming in agony. No. But push your body to the point of discomfort. Push your body to the point where it says, okay, now I need to stop. Don't stop before that point. You really need to start building up your body, so you really need to go as much as the pain will allow you to go. If it's manageable, if you can still operate your daily life within the parameters of that pain, that's where you need to go to. Back hyperextensions, right? This is basically where you put your feet down at the bottom of the machine. It's got a little pad underneath your hips, and you're just doing this. You're lifting up through the lower back and through the glutes. And you don't need to hyperextend all the way up. Don't do that. Just lift your body up until it's straight, and then drop it back down. And do those back hyperextensions. That's a nice way to start. A barbell glute bridge, this glute ham raise, which you'll see me do in some of my back and leg videos, where you're basically lying on the ground, you've got a barbell across your hips, and then you just drive up with the hips, push up through the hips, and bring the barbell up. So if you want to have a look at some of the other videos, you can see me doing some barbell glute bridges. Start with a nice lightweight, and then work your way up from there. Deadlifts, squats. A lot of people will tell you if you got lower back problems, you should avoid deadlifts and squats. I couldn't disagree more. Now, obviously, there are some limitations. For example, with heavy weights, I can't squat all the way down to the ground. I can squat to parallel, and that's where I do it. I squat to parallel, and then I come back up with the heavier weights. With deadlifts, I don't do some certain deadlift variations. I don't do a stiff leg deadlift, for example. But I think that the deadlifts and squats, being that they work the core and the lower back so well, are something that you absolutely need to do, even if you need to start at an incredibly light weight. Even if you're just doing the bar or a dumbbell, start there. So with deadlifts, start with a dumbbell. Start with a 10K dumbbell, something that's not too heavy, and put 2 of them on the ground. Drive through your heels. Use proper deadlift form, and lift yourself up. With squats, start with goblet squats. A goblet squat's basically where you hold a kettlebell or a dumbbell with 2 hands right between the legs, and you squat down with it. Start there. Eventually, working your way to back squats and front squats with a bar. You've got to move, and that's the main point, that you really need to move, and you need to move in a way that works the area that you're experiencing the pain in. And again, not to the point where you're in excruciating pain, you want to build yourself up, but to the point where you're in a certain degree of discomfort. And when you get to that uncomfortable point, the point where you start to feel the burn, then you're going to move to the ice. Now again, I've told you the doctors recommended heating pads. Heating pads, heating pads, heating pads. Methylatum and heating pads. This is just this garbage stuff. What you need is a solid block of ice. Heat feels good. And it can relax you if you're having muscle spasms. But if you have a disc problem, an inflammation problem, you need ice. And I mean a block of ice. Not a little bag full of ice cubes that you wrap in a towel that gives you a little bit of cold. Take a block of ice. Now what I've got is I've got this Lois ice pack thing. I've got a couple of at work as well that are just bags, basically, of water. And you freeze it, and you jam it down your back. And what I would do is I would, when I was first starting out with dealing with the back pain, is I would take a block of ice about yay big, and I would jam it in my belt, in the back of my pants. And that's how I would walk around, and that's how I would sit. So when I was sitting at work, I would sit with a block of ice jammed down my pants, and then when it melted, I would switch for another one. So I had, I had them going on rotation. A block of ice, and direct on the skin, or with your shirt maybe, between the skin and the ice, but not wrapped in a towel, right? You want minimum separation of cloth between the ice and you. You want that cold to penetrate deep enough to reduce the inflammation, and you want to keep it there long enough to do it. Is it comfortable to sit on a block of ice? No, it's not. It's really, really uncomfortable. But the good news is, once you've done it for about 10-15 minutes, the entire area goes numb and you can no longer feel it. So, reduces inflammation, dulls the pain. After you've pushed your body to a certain level, after you've done whatever your exercise is, or bouncing on the Bosu ball, the Swiss ball, put the ice down and leave it there. Leave it there for an hour. Leave it there until it melts. Do yourself a favor. Ice that area thoroughly. And no, products like BioFreeze, Mentholatum, Rub A535, different topical ointments are not a substitute for actual ice. You need a real solid block of ice. Chemical packs, the kind where you squish the two sides together and it creates some cold, also not a substitute for real ice. They don't maintain that temperature at low enough or for a long enough period of time to be effective. So use actual ice. Solid blocks. And medicine. Essentially, the only medicine that I take, the only real medicine that I take for my back pain is Advil. Basically, ibuprofen. That's it. I don't take a lot either. I might take one 400 milligram pill after deadlifts, after squats. After squat day, after deadlift day, I'll take one pill. And that's it. Muscle relaxants, not going to help you. Not if it's a disc problem. Stronger anti-inflammatories, like bexxa and other products out there, may help you. But if you're relying on these anti-inflammatories just to get around, then probably you need to do something different with your diet and exercise program. The other products that I take, and this is in my supplements video as well, are two products from Universal Nutrition. I take Animal Packs. This is my multivitamin. I will do eventually a review on Animal Packs. They are fantastic. Great multivitamin, gives me a good amount of energy, keeps me nice and healthy. I'm not exactly sure what impact they have on the back, but I do know that since I've been taking them, I have had a significantly reduced amount of problems with my lower back. And Animal Flex. And I use this more for my shoulder than I do for my back, but it's got glucosamine and chondroitin and fish oils in there, and it's a joint support supplement, again, from Universal, animal branded Animal Flex packs. And if you look at the supplement video, you'll see they're quite large. There's a lot of pills to take, but swallow them. They're good. It works, right? And that's really all you need from a supplement, is that it works. And it's not horribly expensive for what it is. It's an effective supplement. You take one pack a day. It's all portioned out for you. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. Don't just lay there with your legs up, with a heating pad under your back, feeling sorry for yourself and hoping to find some way to relieve your pain for 10 minutes. 10 minutes of pain relief is only 10 minutes of pain relief. What you want is a lifestyle change, something that's going to help you get past the pain today and laugh at the pain tomorrow. And that's how I feel. I don't want to laugh at the pain because I know it's very, very serious for a lot of people out there. But it makes me feel an immense amount of pride and happiness that I've been able to deal with this back pain, which I was sure was going to essentially cripple me to do a lot of different things in my life, and it didn't. And if you're out there watching this video, dealing with your back pain and thinking, I'm so frustrated because I've seen all of these doctors, I've taken these pills, I've tried this cream and that cream, and I've tried this acupuncture and nothing's working. My message to you is, don't give up hope, because you can absolutely find a way to deal with your back pain in a successful way, as I have. And it's really, really simple to do. You need to obviously get up and face that pain in an intelligent way. But once you do, you're going to change your life, as I have. So in summary, back pain is discouraging. It's painful. And for all intents and purposes, lower back pain caused by herniated or desiccated discs is incurable. I mean, I know there's a surgical option, but as I've been informed, surgery is rarely going to be an effective solution to the problem. However, lower back pain can be managed. You need to exercise. You need to ice instead of heating the area. You need to avoid, in my opinion, these herbal or alternative or Eastern cures, and actually go out and strengthen the muscles around the area. The cure is really, really basic, and that's the good news. And so I'm hoping that this video will help you, or help somebody that you know, find some kind of hope that they're going to be able to manage their own lower back pain, and also give you a good starting place. Ice and bouncing on the Swiss ball is where I started, and it was extremely effective. And if you look at some of the other videos on the channel, you'll see what I mean by effective. And this is within, I think, the last time that I had my back out was about 2.5 years ago. It hasn't happened since, but it's been a lot of hard work in the interim. So guys, I hope this really, really helps you or somebody that you know. And please check out the other videos on the channel if you like. And share this video. Share this video with anybody that you know that has lower back pain, somebody that you think could benefit from my story or from the strategies that are discussed here. Until next time, as always, keep growing.